What's up team, Mark here. Welcome to my first ever YouTube tutorial. I'm super excited. So a lot of you guys have been asking for tutorials on photos and videos, how I edit my photos. It's been a long time coming, I do admit, but I'm quite excited to get the ball rolling and get some tutorials out the window. So welcome to Making Instagram Bangers, the series where I focus on taking the story of how I took the photo, what went into it, and how I edit it, giving you a few tips and techniques along the way that you can use and hopefully improve your photography as well. So today we're going to be talking about how you can use light and darkness as well to balance your photos and really emphasize certain aspects of it. So without further ado, let's jump right into Lightroom. Okay, let's go. So this is a photo I took back in June in Yangon, Myanmar. We were going out to buy some SIM cards or something, and it was like an old post office of sorts. And there was some sort of run-down, moody, kind of grungy vibe to the place, and I thought the light looked really, really good. I can see there's a lot of light coming from outside, the interior is quite dark, and that's something I want to play on. It looks like there's a lot of light outside. It was actually a pretty grey day, so the photo turned out pretty good, but what we're going to do here is try and balance things out. So the first thing I always do when I edit photos is pull the highlights all the way down. I bring the shadows all the way up. That way I know how much dynamic range I've got, and I know what I can work with. Okay, so now that I know how much dynamic range I've got, I'm just gonna pull the shadows back down because I want this photo to have sort of a dark vibe to it. Let's leave it somewhere around there. I'm gonna pull the whites up, bring them to about here, somewhere until I've got a few white dots appearing. In case you don't know, I hold down the Options key and then move the whites and the blacks, and that's how you get this screen. And as soon as I have a few dots, I know that my whites and my blacks are properly set. All right, this is already starting to look pretty good. I'm just gonna move the temperature up a little bit. I always like to try auto, see how it goes, if I like it. Auto is quite good. I might push up just a tiny bit more. The way I look at this photo, I can really tell that I'm gonna be playing a lot on the light that comes out of these windows here, so that's what I want to emphasize. Okay, so I reckon that looks pretty good. I'm going to put a bit of a fade here, so let's just make 3 dots on the tone curves, bring this up a little bit, and then crush the whites, and then give it just a little bit of an S curve, and that way we've got a bit more contrast in the image. I might just boost the contrast as well right here. That's looking pretty good. So I reckon in terms of light, I'm already feeling the sort of moody tone too. I already quite like this. So next step, I'm gonna scroll down here. I feel like I want the greens to be slightly greener, so I'm gonna pull these up a little bit. I want them to contrast with the skin tones of this guy right here. So if I push the greens up, there we go, something like that. That's quite nice. And because they are quite strong, I don't want to take the saturation down on them. So I wanted a greenier green, but slightly desaturated. Let's bring it down a little bit, something like that. Okay, I reckon we're getting somewhere. This is quite good. Let's see. Okay, I reckon I'm quite happy with the colors so far. The only thing that annoys me is this section right here, which is very, very red and very distracting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the brush tool, just brush over it, and then there we go. And then bring the saturation down. There we go. I don't want to bring it down too much. I don't want it in black and white, but I don't want it to distract from anything else. There we go. There we go. That's nice and moody. I'm quite happy with this. Gonna hit done. Now, the way this photo works is I want all of the attention to be around here. I want this to be the main source of light. The problem is I've got quite a lot of light coming from the left. So the easy way to deal with this is I'm just gonna put a graduated filter and then bring it across like so, and then bring the exposure down. I don't want to bring it down too much, I don't want it too dark, but bring it down a little bit. There we go, minus 0.7 stops, that's quite nice. And now the whole image has become a bit dark, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a radial filter where I want the attention to be. So I put it here, and then bump it up, bump the exposure up just a little bit. There we go, that looks pretty nice. I'm quite happy with that. Look at that, this is awesome. The last thing I'm gonna play with is clarity. So the problem with clarity is it's very easy to overdo. So I always put it to the max to see how it looks and then work my way from there. So this, I don't want this. I mean, it looks pretty cool, but it's too much of an effect. So I'm just gonna bring it back down, and I might just push it up by 20, 25. I reckon I can get away with 25. There we go, that's decent. I think a rule of thumb when editing photos is if you're trying out an effect for the first time and you've never used it, always dial it back by half of what you think you should use. So if you're bumping up the reds, if it's the first time you're pushing saturation on reds, push it maybe half of what you think you should push it. That way you don't overdo it, you've got more of a subtle effect. I think a lot of people tend to discover a new technique and then completely overdo it. So try and make it subtle. You want your images to be edited but subtly. Okay, so I'm quite happy with this edit right now. So what I'm gonna do is just take a minute, have a look, and then go to Photo, Edit in, and edit in Adobe Photoshop. Let's wait for this to load. Come on. Why are you slow, computer? Come on. Okay, we're in Photoshop. So as I said before, I really like the way the light comes from the right. And I think that's something that I can make even better. The problem is we are quite limited in Lightroom when it comes to adding additional elements to photos. So what I want to talk about today is overlays. So overlays are pretty much what they say on the box. It's just something that you overlay on your photo. And so they come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. You've got cloud overlays, bird overlays. What we're looking at today is light overlays. So you can find loads of these just by looking on Google or something. Just type light overlays, sun ray overlays, cloud overlays, whatever. There's loads of websites where you can get some for free. There are packages and bundles that you can download that have got loads. I've got loads from all sorts of different sources that I've accumulated over the last couple of years. But today I'm going to be looking at light overlays. So I'm going to take this one right here and drag it into Photoshop. Set the blend mode to screen so it gets rid of all the black, and then flip this around. Yeah, this already looks really cool. I'm super happy with this. I'm going to align it with the door, which is where I want the light to come from. There we go, something like that. Maybe stretch it out a little bit, and then yeah, it's a bit too big. Something like that. I'm quite happy with this. That already looks pretty cool. I'm quite impressed. But the next step is, as you can see, there's loads of lines around the edges and the corners. And also the light doesn't look that natural because obviously it's coming out of the wall, which doesn't make any sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to apply a layer mask to it and then brush around. So just hit the layer mask button down here, get your brush, press B, and then start brushing away. So the first thing I'm going to do always is brush around the edges, just so I can get rid of all those hard lines. There we go. And the next step is to zoom in a little bit and then brush around the origin of the light, just to make it a little bit more natural. So I'm just going to brush around here. There we go. That already looks so much better. There we go. Look at that. Come on. Let's give it a little bit more. If we zoom out, boom, look at that. That already looks mint. That already looks really cool. I'm super happy with that. I'm going to play around with it just a little bit more, just so you can get an idea of what you can do. I feel like it doesn't make sense that the light comes out of this panel here, so I'm just going to try and brush over it a little bit. And there we go. I think the key is to make sure that everything looks natural. You don't want to overdo it in that regard. I know I've seen some photos on Instagram where people put a sun on the left and then the shadow is also going towards the left. That doesn't make any sense. If you put the sun on the left, the shadow should be going to the right. It's the same thing with the light. You want to make sure that light goes into light and light doesn't, magically hit shadows. Like if you look down here, I've got these rays of light that I've added that are going straight into the shadows. That doesn't make sense. So I'm going to get rid of them. So I'll just brush them away, something like that. And then just play around until I'm happy with the result. I reckon this looks pretty good. I might just brush around the top a little bit. I don't want too much light around the top. There we go. That looks pretty cool already. So let's have a look at before and after. There, look at that. That looks awesome. So the thing is, there are more windows. So I'm going to continue this work on the next windows. This one right here is a bit too strong, so I might just go with this one this time. So put it here and reduce its size, and then maybe spin it a little bit. Okay, that looks good. Let's set it to screen, and then we can start brushing our way around. So hit the layer mask, and then hit B for brush, and then start making your way around the edges. So there we go. The beauty of this tool is you don't have to be that precise on it. You can kind of wing it and it still looks good. So there we go. Let's just make our way around the edges real quick. I also want to make sure I don't put too much light on this character right here, because if not, he's going to be too faded. We're not going to see much of him. So I'm just going to brush around him real quick. Okay, that looks pretty nice. I do feel like the light is a little bit too strong, so I'm going to reduce the opacity of this. Let's bring the opacity down. There we go. That's much more subtle. That is really nice. And there's a third window in the back that I'm going to do real quick. So just put it here. The job's almost done. Like it almost fits already. This is almost too easy. So let's have a look. All right, something like that. That looks quite nice. I might bring the opacity up a little bit because it's a big window. And again, I'm going to brush around this guy because I don't want the light to shine over him. It should be beside him, along him. Something like that. And then I might bring the opacity down a little bit. I think it's a bit too strong. It's one of those effects that you really want to just spend a bit of time playing around with until you've got something that you're happy and confident, looks natural and looks good. Zoom out. I feel like this second window might be a bit too strong. Same here, let's bring it down. Just play around until you're happy. There we go, that looks pretty good, look at that. So if I, before and after, look at that, this image has got so much more character now, it's so much stronger, it's amazing, look at that. That is just so much better. So I'm just gonna fix this real quick. I'm not super happy with how I've brushed around here. There we go, something like that. There we go, before and after. Yep, this looks so much better. Look at that, this is amazing. All right, I'm just gonna go and save this and then switch back into Lightroom. Okay, and we're back in Lightroom. So the way overlays work is I feel like they often kind of fade the image a little bit. So once they come out of Photoshop, I always like to just bump the contrast up just a little bit to make sure we're not getting too much of a fade, something like that. Okay, I reckon this looks really, really good. So the last step, of course, is to make sure you can publish your banger on Instagram. So I'm gonna hit the crop, gonna set it to 4:5, which is the Instagram size. Press X, that way it's the proper format. And then I'm just gonna make it a tiny bit smaller. I always like respecting the rule of thirds when posting things on Instagram, making sure that the point of interest is at the intersection of two lines. So the point of interest in this photo is this guy right here, just sitting down. So I want to make sure that he is right at the intersection of these two lines. I reckon that looks pretty good. Gonna hit enter, and boom, look at that. This looks amazing. I'm super stoked with that. So this is the before, and this is the after. So there, look at that, super easy, and it looks amazing. I'm really happy with this. So the thing to remember with overlays is it's quite easy to overdo. You don't want to put too many or put too much light or something like that. But on some photos, it really just brings them to life. This photo I thought was pretty cool without, but now that you've added those light rays, there's something more moody, mystical. There's something going on, and it really does improve the picture significantly. So I'll leave some links towards some overlays I use in the description. You can download those. If not, again, just type light overlay on Google Images or cloud overlay or something like that, and you're bound to find some really, really good stuff. So yep, I hope this tutorial was helpful for you. This was Making Instagram Bangers, episode 1. I will be releasing more tutorials playing with overlays, different types, clouds, suns, that kind of stuff, and how these can improve your photography as well and improve your editing. But yeah, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you do have any tutorials that you really want to see on the channel, just leave a comment below. Let me know what you want me to look at and I can make a tutorial on that. And yeah, this was Mark. Take care, guys, and see you soon.